Good morning. Okay, so
Is my voice clear?
yes, your voice is clear.
Okay. So let's start now.
Wait.
Who is the
Okay,
moderator?
so good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to room 6 of the parallel session 1 of LLTC 2022. My name is Risa, and I will be the PIC of this room. So I will be the person in charge of this room, and I will also act as a timekeeper and will be reminding the presenter verbally before the time is up. So in this parallel session, each team will have 15 minutes to present and 5 minutes for the Q&A. Each presentation will be moderated by the next presenter. And without further ado, let us begin with the first presentation by Francisca, and it will be moderated by Umi.
Okay. Yeah. Well, welcome to the room 6 for the participants and presenter of LLTC or Language Learning International Conference of Sanata Dharma University. Well, so I will be a moderator from Ibu Francisca Cristanti. Is it right? Yes. Okay, so now I will invite Ibu Francisca Cristanti to present the topic of the research or article. So now I please you, time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Umi. Let me share my screen first. Wait, just a moment. What's wrong with my screen? Wait. Be patient. Okay. I'm sorry. Just the basic. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to this room. I will try to make this really fast. All right. So today my presentation will be about the ALT flipped learning in Indonesia during the pandemic. This is a systematic review because I thought this is the time where researchers gather. So I would like to do something that will benefit the researcher to find research gaps in case there are further researchers who are interested in pursuing this particular topics of the flipped learning in the future post-pandemic. Right. So this comes from the idea that since the starting of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the landscape of English language teaching in Indonesia, especially in terms of technology and then also in approach. And during that time, flipped learning and other online learning gained more popularity due to the government policy as a result of the prolonged pandemic. Now, right now, when we are entering the post-pandemic era, So educators and students have been accustomed to use technology. So there is a substantial possibility in which flipped learning will be continued to be used in English language teaching. Now, this is a systemic study, systemic review. And by the systemic review, I try to map out the coverage of the flipped learning studies during the pandemic in order to identify the trends of the studies and to find the gap where we as researcher can contribute more in future studies. So what is systematic review process? So this is systematic review process. I follow Newmans and Go, the systematic review processes, the 9 steps of the process, starting from research question, developing, and then until reporting the finding, including the coding itself. I would like to follow these steps in my presentation in order to increase the possibility of a replication of the study if you are interested. Of course, there are many ways in doing systematic review processes, but considering the Indonesian context and our access to resources, I choose the 9 step of systematic review process. Here are my 2 objectives. So the first one, I'm going to map the characteristics of the previous studies. By knowing and identifying the characteristic, hopefully, we can target and pinpoint the gap that are not explored yet. And then the second one, this is based on the finding of my first research question. Actually, I'm going to present the topics trend also based on the previous study. So conceptual framework, the levels of education, there are so many levels of education presented, but I use the ISET 11 by UNESCO, the international standard of level of educations. And from here, this is the main part. This will be the base of the categorization of the research topics to answer my research question too. Okay. The next step in systematic review is selection criteria and search strategies. Previous studies in Indonesia on systematic reviews have also tried to present the inclusion and exclusion criteria. This particular review focuses on journal articles, meaning that others than journal articles will be excluded from the as the data of this systematic review. And even though even though I am studying about flipped learning in the Indonesian context, but the context itself is on ELT, therefore English should be the medium. And due to accessibility, there are many other platforms like World of Science and then Corpus and Scopus and then others, but Google Scholar is the most accessed search engine in academic Indonesia. So I use that as my search engine to gather my great resources. Region, of course, Indonesia, outside of Indonesia will be excluded, and the search topic is flipped learning in ELT. And since the pandemic started in March 2020, so I start my research, my data finding starting from 2020 to 2022. Before 2020 will be excluded from the data gathering. So these are the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Here, systematic review uses the journal, the journal article as the data. of the study. About my search strategy, so I use Google Scholar to gather great literature sources and simple keywords. English, Flip, Invert, DLT, ESL, ESP, Indonesia. There are other keywords that I use in gathering more sources for the data to make sure it reached the minimum number of data required for qualitative research. Okay. So there are 3 stages of filtering. So the first one is the title selections. From these title selections, I gathered 52 studies. However, I had an intercoder, which is necessary for the validity of this research. And the intercoder also selected 52 studies. And in stage 2, after reading the abstracts, it decreases into 32 studies that fits for the data of these studies. And the next filtering is on reading the methodology and the findings sections. So we selected here, and 26 studies were selected as the data for this study. Here are the distributions. So there's no significant differences between the years. So this is the methodology. What did we do? We did 2 types of coding. The first one is the deductive coding to map the preset categories, area or regions, and then level of educations, and also the type of research. Whereas in gathering the topics, in identifying the topics, we applied inductive coding. Inductive coding is necessary here because we don't know in which category our findings will be belong to. Okay, so the intercoder reliability is quite high. There's no significant difference between me as the researcher and my intercoder in analyzing the data. So for the deductive coding, the intercoder reliability is 0.96, which passes the high standard of reliability. And for the inductive coding is 0.88, a shy number below 0.9, which will be categorized as a high reliability. Here are the synthesis of results. We identified 4 categories of areas, 5 categories of education level, 4 types of method, and 5 categories of topics. However, the distributions are quite interesting. So there are many areas in which further researcher can contribute to the studies of flipped learning in ELT. So the first one in area, based on the graph, you will see that there are disproportion distribution between the regions of the study. Most of the studies were conducted in the western region of Indonesia, and it was dominated by Java. Central Java has the highest number here in the western region, whereas the eastern region is the minimum number. So if the majority of us live in the western region, we might consider to have a collaborative research that can target the eastern region of Indonesia in conducting flipped learning studies. The one that is not stated, actually some of them can be assumed by the institution of the writers, but since it was not stated in the research itself, so assumption will be very dangerous, therefore not stated here. This also have us remind us that we need to be very detailed in mentioning our methodology. The level of educations, a huge number of research was conducted in the context of higher level educations. So this is the distribution. This is a very unequal distribution, which opens opportunities, lots of opportunities to contribute in other level of educations. For the type of research, there's no very significant difference between each type of research. So therefore, either empirical, qualitative, or quantitative will contribute equally to the research in ELT. My last one. Where does the topic lean to? The dominant topic in this context is about the effectiveness of flipped learning. Okay, 46%. The effectiveness of flipped learning in standardized English text, speaking skills, writing skill, integration of various technology. Okay, Larissa. Okay. And the second one is on students' perspective, 23%. So if you're considering, as a researcher, if you are considering and studying about the effectiveness of flipped learning around Indonesia, we need to consider that there are many studies in relation to effectiveness, and we need to find a gap in which we can contribute more to this one. Students' perspective, teacher perspective, strategy, and student attitude are open for further researchers to pursue. So in general, all of the results and findings are mostly to the positive sides. However, there were some mentions, not many, but some mention about difficulties in infrastructures and technology adaptations, both from the teacher's perspective and the student's perspective. So what can we learn from this? I hope it can help us to understand more that studies of ELT flipped learning in Indonesian context show this proportion in terms of almost everything: region, education, and topic coverage. So these are the gap points in that we can address. Most studies were conducted at the undergraduate level in the Western region of Indonesia, and the number is shocking. The differences in number is shocking, and this opens the opportunity for further researchers to address the gap in the studies of the ELT learning. And among the positive findings of ELT flipped learning, the technological disadvantage was mentioned by several studies, encouraging more research to explore this matter further, because we know there are problems in technology based on previous studies, but there haven't been able to address this issue. Last one, the studies of effectiveness of ELT flipped learning leans toward productive skills. Writing, speaking. The gap opens for further research to contribute by exploring on the receptive skills. Thank you very much. I will end my presentation here.
Well, are you finished, Ibu Francisca?
Yes, I think so, Bu Umi. I hope I don't say too much.
Well, thank you so much, Ibu Francisca Kristanti. It's a very nice presentation from you. You explore about the flipped learning, and then you explore 4 categories of areas, 5 categories of education levels, 4 types of method and 5 categories of topics. Well, now we move to the question and answer or Q&A. So I invite the participants to give comment, questions, or suggestions to Ibu Francisca studies related to the flipped learnings. So I please you all. Hi, Bapak Ibu. I invite you all to give suggestions maybe or question to Ibu Francisca related to her study or her research about the review of literature about the flipped learning.
Yes, Ibu Umi, am I soundable?
Yes,
My name is Fifi Zurniati.
Vivi,
Is
okay.
my voice clear, Ina?
Ibu Vivi, are you
Yes.
in? Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you
Yes,
so much
yes,
for the
please.
change. Thank you so much for the change, Bu Umi. Thank you.
Yes.
And I have 2 questions actually to Bu Francisca in regards with the topic about the flipped learning. You mentioned earlier, especially about the region of implementation of the flipped learning in Indonesia, and mostly this type of the flipped learning used in Java. My question is here, do you find any information, or did you mention, but I didn't really listen to it, or what is the probability about that? That do you have the data about the flipped learning in West Sumatra, or especially in Padang? Do
West
you have?
Sumatra.
Yes,
Yes,
we're in West
Ibu.
Sumatra. Yes.
Actually, there is a research in my data from West Sumatra, Padang Sidempuan. So let me
Oh,
open it.
I'm not from Padang Sidempuan anyway. Here in Padang, the capital of West Sumatra. What about in Padang?
Oh, in Padang, not from the ones that I found in Google Scholar. Wait, so from West Sumatra, there is one research from West Sumatra, from Pariaman, Ibu. I'm sorry, not Padang Sidempuan. From Pariaman, it was conducted recently in 2022. But not in the undergraduate level. It was done, the participants are high school, from the high school level, Ibu. So from Padang, I couldn't find a research, but this one, there is one from West Sumatra.
Yes, so that's the condition of flipped learning, and actually with the pandemic, there's so many changes we find, especially in the teaching process. Here we are not a big city like Jakarta or Surabaya. We are here living in quite small town, and the effect of the online teaching is so massively quite bad for the
I
students, starting
see.
from the earlier stage until university students. And that's about the flipped learning. And I also have one question: what is the future probability of this flipped learning, as we know that this is familiar for online teaching and learning, right? So after the post-pandemic, what will be the flipped learning? Will it change? The flipped learning will change or adaptize with the new normal or new situation after the pandemic, or it will only be in the state of online learning, like from school, home, house, and in school. What is the future stage of this flipped learning? Thank you.
All right. So I think the positive things about flipped learning is that it breaks the classroom boundaries, right? So learners have the autonomy to learn at their own pace and their own time. And since there are in class and out class activities, the learner find it
Ibu
beneficial
Francisca.
for this approach. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
The
Ibu.
connection
Okay.
is unstable.
Ibu Fifi, can you hear me?
Ibu Vivi,
Yes,
are you
yes,
in?
yes, you
All right.
are. The voice is
Right.
clear enough because I'm wearing the headset now.
All right.
It's clear
Thank
enough.
you. Sorry, Ibu. Even though we have face-to-face, but there are activities that can be done outside of the classroom that can strengthen the students' background knowledge. So this is the idea of flipped learning, and we can still use simple technological media or to support this out of class activities, Ibu Fifi. However, I do understand that there are not this is not equal in all area in Indonesia, because even though the internet connection, looking at the internet connection and then the technology infrastructures and other things are very different from one region to other regions, and students and teachers' mastery about technology is also different, right? In one region and the next region. So if from your based on your experience that flipped learning approach is still not effective in your region, in your area, if you are interested in conducting a further research, perhaps you can target the one that still opens opens the door really wide about the
Connection
challenges
Ibu Francisca is unstable.
of flipped learning. So I think you can target that gap, Ibu Fifi, if you want to pursue, because it hasn't been explored that much, and it will benefit lots of educators if they can know more about the challenges of flipped learning. I hope that helps. If you have further question, feel free to contact me, Ibu Umi. So we can try to discuss. I am dedicating my life to flipped learning research. Ibu Fifi, thank you. I hope that helps. Thank you, Ibu
All
Umi,
right.
your time.
You're welcome.
Yes, Ibu Francisca,
Okay.
all right. I think that's all for Ibu Francisca's sessions.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you very
How
much.
about the BIC
Now,
of this room? Is it right? The time is over for
Yeah,
Ibu
the time
Francisca?
is over for Ibu Francisca.
Okay.
So
Who else?
thank you very much for the insightful discussion, Ibu Francisca. And now we can move to the next presentation, which will be
Okay.
delivered by Ibu Umi and will be moderated by Ibu Francisca.
All right. So the next presenter is Ibu Umi Khairati Syam. Did I pronounce that correctly, Ibu Umi?
Okay.
And she is a lecturer from Universitas Muhammadiyah Makassar, Indonesia. She will present about English teachers problem, exploring root problem of PPG teachers in the 21st century learning era. The time is yours, Ibu Umi.
Okay. Thank you very much for Ibu Francisca Kristanti. Well, Bapak Ibu, allow me to share my screen.
Ibu Umi, can you share your screen?
I think there is a connection problem at her end. because Ibu Umi is gone.
Yeah. Ska-
So I think while waiting for Ibu Umi to return, we have a 2-minute windows, right, Larissa?
Um,
We have a 2-minute window to wait for
Oh,
the
okay.
presentation. Is that correct? If I'm not mistaken. Okay. Since I cannot say anything about Ibu Umi's presentations,
I think we need to wait for Ibu Umi first.
mhm.
Hello, Ibu Umi.
Ibu Umi, welcome back. Yes, Ibu Umi.
Yeah.
Yes, we can see your screen. The floor is yours.
I'm sorry, Ibu Umi, you are still muted.
So I'd like to present my. Oh. Check, 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 check.
Yes, Bu Umi.
Check, check. Hi, hi. Is
We
it
can
clear?
hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear
We
Okay,
you.
can
well,
hear you now.
well.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your kind attention. Topic of my research is about the English teachers problem in Indonesia, exploring root problem of PPG teachers in the 21st century learning era. Well, to become a professional or 4 terms of professional teachers is about the personal competence. The second one is pedagogic competence. The third component is about the social competence, and all principles of professional teachers here should have by the teachers, especially in a personal or their professional life. So this is the very important one to teachers in Indonesia to become a professional teachers and should have these 4 components. Well, the next one, the models of teachers profession education in Indonesia actually certification program, or we call PPG dalam jabatan. Yes. And also the second models of teachers education program is about the pre-service teachers certification program, or we call PPG prajabatan. So next one. So for the teacher professional development or to become professional teachers, the teacher also should have the 21st century skills. Yeah, the first one is life and career skills, and also they have to own learning and innovation skills, and also they should have information and technology skills. So this is the rationale of my study or my topic about well, next, why I am interested to explore this after reading the gap research related to the problem English teacher problem in Indonesia 21. They found that the English teachers in pedagogical and professional competence are still low, affecting their capability in practicing their skills. And the second gap that I found that based on Baharudin's ideas 2021 is about the result of comprehension tests, especially in pedagogical and professional terms, are still based on the comprehension test. Actually, the problem of each teacher to achieve the professional competence or those force of professional competence. Well, the research method that I use to conduct this research I applied the documentation analysis of problem identification of so in service teacher certification from PPG dalam jabatan, the teachers or PPG teachers from many regions in Indonesia about the problem identification. And also I found 3 categories, 3 categories of teachers problem. So the first one is literacy skills, and also the second one is numeracy skill, and the third one is pedagogic skill. And the result is this one. So the English teachers have difficulties to guide the students who have a low comprehension in understanding English materials because they have low interest in reading. And also the second one is English teachers have difficulties to guide the students who have low reasoning in understanding English materials because they cannot focus on learning, low of critical analysis, and also they have problem in communication and interaction. And the last one, I found that the English teacher have difficulties in applying the innovative and creative teaching. Why? Because they have a lack of digital literacy to make a digital media to improve the quality of their teaching and learning process. Okay, so I think that's all for my presentation, a very simple presentation for this one. Okay, I go back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Umi. So there are lots of problems that is faced by the teacher professional education in relation to students also, including the literacy, numeracy, and pedagogic skills. And this will influence the effectiveness of the learning itself, yeah, Ibu Umi. So without further ado, we will open the question and answer session for this particular research. Feel free to turn on your microphone or raise your hands if you have questions.
Question again, maybe Bu Francisca from
Yes,
Vivi?
yes, Ibu Vivi.
Yes, it
Of
is the second
course.
time. Yes, thank you very much for the chance, Bu Francisca. It's it's interesting for me, basically, personally, because I also want to conduct researches on like digital era 5.0. So I would like to ask Bu Umi, especially here in regards with the digital 21st century our era, 21st century era. This is my question for Bu Umi is what do you mean by 21st century era? Does it relate only with digital readiness, or like teachers should what we call in bahasa is not gaptek, or really only about the technology, digital? What is the basic conceptual of 21st century era of teaching here? And so far, what is the readiness of Indonesian teacher, or basically the Indonesian education system now with the 21st century and technological readiness? What
Okay,
is
Ibu
the
Vivi.
question? Yes.
Ibu Umi might not have time to
Yeah,
answer
okay,
your
okay.
question.
It's okay, it's okay.
So, Ibu Umi, 34 seconds, and perhaps you can continue
It's
by
fine, thank
private
you.
chat.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Bu Francisca and Bu. Thank you.
Well,
Okay, so
yeah,
well,
thank you, Ibu Vivi, for yes, Larissa, yeah.
so I think
Well,
Ibu Umi can reply Ibu Vivi's question in the private chat because
Yes.
yeah, because we don't have enough time.
yes.
Invited. Larissa, can we continue?
I'm sorry, actually, I think we can continue until 10:30.
All right. Is Ibu
But
Vivi here?
I think Ibu Vivi is not here yet.
Okay, while waiting for Ibu Vivi, perhaps there are other questions. Ibu Umi, we're sorry.
We are sorry, Ibu Umi and Ibu Francisca.
Oh, no problem. This is the post 21st century era, so we can use lots of platforms to have a discussion, yeah, Ibu Umi, yeah.
Yeah. If Ibu Vivi is not here yet, I think I will ask to Ibu Umi. Okay, so my question
Yes,
is,
Larissa, what is the question?
do you find any strategies that can help the teachers in improving their own literacy skills as the PPG students? Yeah, that's my question.
Ibu Umi, you are muted. You are still on mute. Yes.
Well, thank you, Larissa, for your questions. Yes, especially in PPG students. Well, so I'll try to answer this question. Actually, there are many kinds of literacy activity that you can use to encourage the students, yeah, to improve their literacy, especially in teaching and learning process. One of them is try to give them some references or sources, yeah, sources, and then you can guide them in flip model, as Ibu Francisca Cristantis explained just now, because flip models is provide many times, yeah, a lot of time to guide the students in understanding the materials. So you can feel them by giving nice references, scientific references like YouTube, learning video, to guide them to improve their literacy. It's a one example of to improve the literacy of the students or PPG students. It's like
One
this.
strategy, yeah.
Yes.
Ibu Umi,
Ya, Bu.
Ibu Vivi is here in the room. Ibu Vivi is here in the room.
Ibu Vivi now is a green screen.
Yes. So, Larissa, thank you very much for filling us with your questions. So,
Okay.
Ibu Vivi question. Oh no, 117 seconds. Ibu Umi, perhaps you can address Ibu Vivi's questions. Is the 21st century always targets technology?
Okay. Ibu Vivi Surniati asked about the digital literacy, yeah, digital literacy, especially in 21st century learning. I think right now there are many kinds of learning media that you want to use to improve the quality of your teaching. For example, you can use Google Classroom, you can use Kahoot, you can use Slido.com. So there are many application or platform that can you use to improve the quality of your teaching. As we know that the 21st century learning skills, actually the main point that we have to own as educators, as well as teachers and students. So you can improve your digital literacy by using many platform to improve the quality of your teaching. So don't hesitate to use all. You can download from the what is Marketplace, yeah, Marketplace. There are many applications that you can use to improve, to download that, to improve the digital literacy.
Are going to say the right way?